Hi everybody, welcome back to another Watch Talk. I'm your host Lavi. This is my co-host Jasper, the KOV. And today we're gonna be talking about the upcoming auction of Monaco Legend Group. But first, as a tradition, let's do a wrist check. KOV, what are you wearing today?
On my wrist is a watch that we just received. It's a AVW specialty, let's say.
Love it.
A bloodstone dial, housed in a 18038 with the Swiss signature.
Single
first,
quick set.
Exactly. The first love regarding stone dials of myself. The bloodstones are always very special, and this is a nice pattern with some interesting hematite inclusions. So definitely a watch worth wearing.
Absolutely. Nice to have one again, because it was a while since we had one.
Yeah, it's hard to
Bloodstone?
find, firstly, of course, fully original ones, and secondly,
Good condition.
ones that aren't broken, scratched, text missing, hairline, stuff like that, which you see quite often these days.
Sadly, yes, because they're quite fragile.
Yeah.
I'm today wearing a Patek Philippe, one of my favorite Nautiluses, the 5800. Only produced for a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken. First Nautilus with a see-through caseback and 38.4 millimeter, which in my opinion is the best size out there.
That's your opinion?
It is my opinion,
Okay,
again,
I see.
in my humble opinion.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so...
This is like in between a 3800 and a 5711. So it kind of has like the dial design of a 5711.
More modern, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
more contemporary, but a little bit sleeker. The proportions are perhaps better.
Yes, for our wrists, absolutely.
Funnily enough, you also have this intermediate, let's say, model in the Aquanaut collection. Do you know that one?
The 5165.
There you go.
So
which sits between 5065 and 5167.
Exactly, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
It's like the modern version of the 5065.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
the more-
basically.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is also cool, but we haven't had one in quite a while. I think the last one we sold
That was before my time.
2023, yeah, like over a year ago.
From, if you remember, from what period is that watch?
So they were made, Rutger, do you know 5165? They're made like 2000, yeah, something like 2010 or something.
Okay, so just after this period as well.
Yeah.
So they're quite similar on both ways. Okay, cool. So guys, we got an auction coming up. Next week we'll be leaving on Thursday, I believe, or Friday for the weekend. Monaco Legend Group has the auction, 19th to 20th of October.
Yeah.
I would say one of the favorites of auctions to go to.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
always a lot of fun.
It's the most fun.
Absolutely.
And they are getting very big the last couple of years. I think they now are placed the fourth biggest auction house regarding watches. And I made a video with them and just uploaded it in our KOV channel. So if you want to know more about Monaco Legends Group and in particular the organization
family
behind it, like the Davide Parmigiani, Andrea Parmigiani and Claude Cohen, they are running this auction house alongside more people, obviously, because it takes quite
There's a
some
whole team. Yeah,
it takes
absolutely.
quite some characters to build this catalog. I can promise you that.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. And the video kind of displays what has been going on in their auction house and how they're able to generate such a massive following in quite a short amount of time. And I think these lots speaks for themselves, but we're going to pick out a couple of them, yeah?
Yeah, we've picked 6 favorites of what we're going to discuss. We're going to keep it short because there's about little under 300 lots, so we don't have time. We don't want to bore you with all of them. If you want to see that, go to their website or follow us and we'll be sure to show you a lot online.
So we're going to do how many lots?
6. I decided on 6. I think together with you we'll...
So it will include these 3 on the...
on the cover, exactly.
On the cover, because those are...
those are epic, for sure. Legendary watches, great conditions. Let's start with lot number 21, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Lot number 21 is the beautiful Patek Philippe 2526. Pink gold.
Yeah, this is a watch
Great
you
piece.
have to see in the flesh. Why? Because this reference is characterized by its dial, which is a double baked enamel dial.
True.
And this one, if you reflect the light, if you play with the light a little bit, it really pops. You fall in love with the watch, and it's very hard to take good pictures of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
From the looks of it, it's going to be spectacular. Yet, if you see this watch in the flesh, I think it will be even more amazing. That's also one of the reasons we like to attend these auction houses.
Yes.
Also because we want to see for ourselves the condition, the market for it. You know how the watch is in the flesh. What other people around the table. Because if you go to these viewings, you're sat on a table with other collectors and other
Potential
specialists,
clients, exactly.
potential clients, and you can discuss lots too. You can request these lots. They will be handed to you. You can see them. You can loop them, and of course it says more than just a picture.
Absolutely.
But from the looks of it, because I haven't seen this watch, when we were over in Monaco for the video shoot of the KOV,
that was some time ago. Yeah,
it was like 4 months ago, so not all the lots were present yet. We already had to see a couple, but this is one I'm very much looking forward to it. Why? Firstly, as I mentioned, 2526 is signified by its double baked enamel dial. Secondly, if I may continue.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I was just
No worries. I'm very happy to talk about this watch because it doesn't come on the market quite often to have one in pink gold. It's a 3rd generation dial with the 3, 9 and the 12. Very, very nice dial layout. Yeah, with a decentral second, but it also brings a good balance to it because it has an extra signature at the bottom, the Serpico Lino.
I was about to ask, yes.
Yeah, Venezuelan dealer from Caracas. And the dial is signed, the case back is signed by SNL, which they also do, for example, on Rolex watches. There are also many Rolex. Yes. We have a 6098.
Exactly.
Right? Rolex. Jogeria. Okay. We had a couple. It's also South American, so excuse my mistake. But we had a couple of Serpico Linos, but this is a spectacular one also because the bracelet too, the clasp is signed too. So all 3 parts, important parts of the watch are signed. And again in pink gold with the bracelet, because I do believe on the 2526, Calatrava not so much. I do think they look very spectacular usually on leather.
Yes.
But for the 2526, it's quite a sporty watch. It's quite a bulky case. Comes in at 35.5 millimeters, so the bracelet makes it look even better. Absolutely. And they had a quite nice variety of bracelets made by Gefrer. This is a spectacular look.
And if I'm not mistaken, the 2526 was a first for something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it's the first to it's the first to incorporate this automatic movement.
That's it. Yes.
Well laid out. I actually also made a video on my KOV channel about the 2526.
True. We'll plug that.
Another detail that I like very much is the double P signed crown, which is a very nice looking one. The case back is screw down. Okay. So you can see it's quite a sporty, even though it's very dressy and elegant, it's quite a sporty watch for Patek, especially if you put it in a timeline when they were produced from 1953 onwards up until...
That's you can't fathom how long that is ago, right? I mean,
right? It's like 70 years ago, and they made it for quite a brief period. It was followed up by a similar reference, but I think it was made for like slightly less under 10 years. Yeah. But these watches were exceedingly valuable if you compare
back at the time. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you compare it to the day dates, even the gold day dates, these watches were in a different price bracket.
Especially considering pink gold, and hardly anyone opted for that precious metal back in the day.
Well, you do see it more often in South America. Also with Rolex, a lot of the pink gold day dates, they originate from South America.
Maybe because the production was over there, maybe?
I have no clue why.
Yeah.
I have no clue why. But it's a very cool watch.
Absolutely.
Estimate is between 150 and 300,000 euros.
Excited to see where it'll go. We'll definitely keep an eye on that piece. We'll move on to the next one. I think we have now 53. It's very cool from Audemars Piguet, but signed, if you look closer, by Cartier.
Yeah, so it's not signed by AP at all.
No.
So the Patek Philippe was indeed signed by Serpico Lino as a retailer, but this watch lacks the entire Audemars Piguet signature on the outside.
Yeah.
So this is often the case because Cartier basically forwarded a special order for their clientele.
They did this more often, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Also with Patek Philippe, for example. So this is quite an interesting, because it is signed in the case, Audemars Piguet is signed in the movement, Audemars Piguet. It's of course a jump hour movement, which is
very cool.
If you date it back in the time, it's like a 100-year-old watch.
I was about to say, it's from the 20s?
Yeah, and the 20s and 30s are quite big in jump hour watches.
Crazy.
Back in the days, this was a complication that was highly appreciated. And the funny part is just the construction of the time display. The time display with the jump hour in the center, and then the minutes around the watch, and the decentral seconds at the 6 o'clock position is just a very quirky and cool design.
Crazy. If you consider this is almost officially antique.
Yeah, 100
When
years
it
old.
passes
this
100
antique.
years, yeah.
I think it's 1928, so 5 years to go, and
Crazy.
there you
Then we
are.
have an antique watch. If we consider it being 100 or close to 100 years old, still in this condition,
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy. To
how
see.
about the case? What are your thoughts?
The case is very abstract to me. It looks like a belt almost.
Yeah,
It's funny design. Also with the mesh bracelet,
Yeah.
very, very cool. I absolutely love it. I'm excited also with the numerals, kind of Breguet
Mhm.
style numerals.
correct.
Is it white gold?
It's white gold. Regarding the bracelet, that's an interesting factor. Firstly, it's white gold in 14 karat, which
Yeah.
is quite unusual, especially for Audemars Piguet, because they never actually make 14 karat ones.
Rolex used to sometimes here and there.
Yeah, Rolex
Was
for
it for
sure,
the same
but
reasons
Audemars, yeah, because of import tax.
Exactly.
So if it's 18 karat, you have to pay way more import tax. You can also see that in the American market, for
Yeah.
example, where they use 14 karat.
Okay.
But I have to see for the bracelet because it's not signed Cartier or Audemars Piguet, but it does mention C&B. So that's Corbet Bertolone, I believe,
Okay.
and this was an important bracelet maker also from yesteryear that
Crazy.
produced bracelets from Patek, Audemars Piguet, Cartier, stuff like that.
Everybody's
Yeah.
such as all these brands also used similar or the same case designers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you
in
have
back of
Fischer, Wenger, many of these
Baumgartner,
cases.
all those,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Very
Bourgeois.
What's the estimate on this one?
30 to 60,000 euro. I believe that's quite
Easily.
a steal.
You do, yeah.
But estimates, schmestimates.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes they
seen-
don't match at all. Remember
I've
that
s-
one time at auction we
Phew.
saw this bargain a two
The
497.
The 12K estimate that went for 950,000
That was
euro.
crazy. That was crazy. Also pink gold. So yeah, I guess
Of
we
course,
can't
but
really.
they didn't know what they had.
True.
Monaco Legend Group is better in positioning
Absolutely.
these watches.
Absolutely.
But it's a very interesting watch that I'm looking forward to glance at. And this is quite an affordable. So this one, if it goes a little bit unnoticed, because you have many heavy guns, so I'm
Yes.
happy you put this in, which is historically important. But
Absolutely.
this is a watch that can go unnoticed, and you can pick it up for 50K, and you have an absolute bargain.
You have a bargain. And
Yeah.
a historical watch. Absolutely.
That's why it's always nice to sit in the auction room, even if you have set your eyes on 10 lots, but you miss a couple, and then you see all of a sudden this watch,
Yeah.
and people are falling asleep in the room because they partied too hard yesterday or whatever,
Which happens sometimes.
which happens, and then you can pick it up for a good price.
Low estimate,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that will be amazing, but
We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. We'll keep an eye on this as well. Follow our stories for more. Then to one of the cover watches. The first steel day date.
Yeah. So
Lot 110.
yeah, so the day dates are often almost always made in precious metal.
True.
There are very few exceptions, very few, including this one that seems to be, I don't know the exact backstory because I haven't looked it up, but this seems to be like a predecessor, like a trial phase.
Yeah.
Because I can see from the
6511.
serial number, a 5-digit serial number dating it to the mid-50s, so 1955, whilst 1956 was the year of introduction of the dating.
Exactly. So this is just before the introduction.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
the
this-
experimental phase.
Exactly, this might be like a prototype that they make in steel prior to making it in a more precious
Exactly.
housing.
Because it's cheaper to produce in steel, obviously.
There you go.
Yeah.
But what I do find interesting is that it has a white gold bezel. So the earlier white gold
Crazy.
bezels on 6511 and 6611, because I think it's a
6511.
6511,
Yeah.
they are more finely milled. So they're called coinage bezels. They're a
Oh,
little
true.
bit more elegant than the later ones that you see in 1963 onwards on
Up
the
to now
18XX
almost,
series.
yes, yeah.
But this is not the only one they made in steel, because they made 6511 in steel, which is the first dated reference. But afterwards, in 1959, before they moved on to the 18XX series,
Oh,
they
true.
made a 6611 in steel.
Yeah.
I think 6 pieces. But
I was about to say five
yeah,
or six
5,
pieces?
perhaps
Yeah.
5. But those were made for the École d'Horlogerie, so the watchmaking
students?
school,
Okay.
the students. But that one, even though it was a reference 6611, featured a stainless steel bezel, which makes sense.
Oh, of course.
What usually would go like a smooth bezel, 6612. but
Yes, true.
They made the stainless steel bezel, but this one does have a white gold bezel, so I'm not sure if that's the way it was delivered, but it's an interesting fact to notice.
Very nice.
And it's a very cool watch also because of the riveted oyster bracelet.
Yes.
And I want to notice one more stainless steel data. They also made a 5-digit one when they went over to the quickset function, the 18000,
Okay.
because they tried these new movements.
It was
I
also
think,
steel.
yeah, one sold at Philips or so with a Buckley dial. Looked terrible, but it was a steel one. But these didn't even have a serial number, indicating like they were never meant for, commercial.
Anything.
Yeah, and this one does have a serial number.
Yeah.
So I can also, because they made like 5 of them, so I can also believe that they made these just as a trial phase and they sent them to some dealers.
Yes, yeah.
And at a certain point, these dealers just sold them or some stuff like that.
And the beautiful black gilt dial.
Yeah.
on it, with
Yeah.
leaf hands.
Yeah, turning brownish.
Yeah, very nice.
And the owner is here on the left, Auro Montanari.
Of course, we see him at every auction.
Yeah, nice guy.
High estimates, I think, like
750,000 to 1.5 million.
north of 1 million. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where that will go.
So try to explain somebody that doesn't understand watches that a gold day-date with diamonds
Yeah,
will
is
go
like
for
18K,
20,000
yeah.
euro, and a stainless steel one will perhaps fetch 1.5 million.
It's crazy. What the
Yeah.
rarity, the scarceness in this
Yeah,
business
that's
is
it.
everything.
For sure.
Next to the condition.
And the
very
historical
cool.
importance, because again, this is
The only one, yeah.
one of
Well,
5,
one of-
I
yes,
believe, but
yeah.
the only one that has come to auction as of now. And we don't know where the other ones are, but they are also in consecutive serials, so that's also
Exactly.
fun to notice.
Yeah.
And this is the first serial, so the oldest serial.
Yeah, so the first one.
You can say this is the first dated ever created, so that's
Yeah.
quite special.
Yeah, that is absolutely special. Definitely a piece we should keep our eye on, so we'll feature that as well.
We won't bid on it, so if you
No,
guys
we're
are
gonna
looking, if you want to bid, we're not your competition.
We're gonna skip that one. Another a piece from the front page, a stunning JPS Law 209,
Yeah.
reference 6241.
Mm-hmm.
Stunning piece.
Yeah, it's super
We've
cool.
We've had a few.
We've had JPSs. The 14 karat ones are a little bit more special because of the use of material executed for the American market.
Like we mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, the lower alloy in gold for the lower import.
It
The
must have
bracelet. Yeah.
Sorry, it must have been such a big difference in import costs that they really would take away 4
Well,
carats.
apparently, but back in the days also the prices were way lower. So if the import is already like $200 higher,
Exactly.
it's like 10%
It's like-
of the value of the watch.
True.
But the current value is more towards 1 million.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one because it also has a Jubilee bracelet, which I
Very
enjoy
cool.
very much, with the American construction. So the coffee bean bracelet
Exactly.
made for the American market.
So it was produced in the Americas as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a JPS configuration. You probably can tell the people why
Absolutely.
it's
So
JPS.
it's based on the Lotus F1 team, the
Mhm.
sponsors back in the day. They had this whole wrap around the car that similars this configuration, gold with yellow gold with black. Beautiful reference. Such as Paul Newman is also a racer back in the day in the
Yeah.
movies. It was all reference to that time.
And
Stunning
JPS is John Player Special. It's
John
a
Player
cigarette
Special.
brand, I believe, from the States, right?
piece. Yes, true.
So it's even cooler because you have Paul Newman. It's a Paul Newman dial. It's from the States.
Yeah.
You have JPS, which is a brand from the
John Player
States. You have a
Special, yeah.
Daytona that is referred to
The
as
Daytona
the Lotus
race.
team, the Daytona race. So it's
Yeah.
American again. And then you have the American configuration, 14 karat and,
Crazy.
American bracelet. So therefore, I believe this is one of the nicest JPS
Yeah.
to buy.
The
But
one
any
you should
JPS
have.
but any JPS is spectacular. And of course,
Absolutely.
condition is paramount. This one looks really good, but I haven't seen it in the flesh, so
We'll
see
view
it-
that one for
see
sure.
it in Monaco. Yeah.
When did we sell our last one? What time was that?
It's been a while. Back in the days, they fetched a little bit less than
Yeah.
the low estimate.
Because the estimate is around the same as the steel.
Yeah,
dating, I believe.
750,000 to 1.5 indeed. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That might fetch even north of that. I won't be surprised.
Yeah, we have to see it in the flesh, but it's a very cool piece.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So the next one is another piece, beautiful Stelline or Galaxy, reference 6098.
Yeah.
Stunning watch. We've had one not too long ago, only
Mhm.
with a wide dial.
Yes,
Also a
but
beautiful piece.
you mention it like it's worth less, like only with a wide dial.
Oh,
and I
that's-
understand
yeah,
that.
my bad.
I understand that, but I want to pinpoint one thing. The black dial, of course, is spectacular and it's rarer.
Yeah.
This watch is actually named the Galaxy by Rolex, so it's not a nickname. You have this ad where Rolex mentions the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So it is a reference 6089,
Oh,
6098,
yeah,
sorry,
98, yeah.
that was usually made and preserved for more rugged stainless steel models.
Okay.
But they wanted to test the watches and make a very spectacular and luxurious watch out of it.
In
And
precious
therefore
metal.
also with just in precious metal, but also they made the star markers to give it a little bit of the cachet.
Hence
that
the
the
Galaxy, perhaps?
Hence the Galaxy. These star markers are also used on the Stelline, for example. The
Stelline, yeah.
Stelline with the 6062.
Crazy, by the way.
Crazy.
Love that reference.
But the difference between the black dial and the white dial, apart from the color, is that the white dial does have a honeycomb pattern, which I
True.
also very much enjoy.
And that's actually very nice to see.
It is. So if you put them next to each other, I'm not sure which I'm gonna enjoy more.
Which you would prefer.
Yeah,
you
which
say.
I would prefer, because the contrast is so nice with these yellow gold markers against the black background.
True.
But I also very much like the texture and the structure of a honeycomb dial, even though it's in white.
Yeah.
So they're both favorites of mine. The Galaxy 6098 we had with the honeycomb dial, we sold it for Rutger. What was the price? Like 200k-ish? 200k.
Yeah.
This is an estimate between 150k and 300k.
Yeah.
We'll see what it does, but this was a spectacular watch also to see in the flash when we were in Monaco.
Absolutely. And we love honeycomb dials as well.
Yeah.
Referring to that, you mentioned it.
We have a couple.
We have 3 right now in stock. Check those out for sure. So we'll see this one in the flesh. Very excited. Love this. I love the Galaxy. On to our final and favorite lot, in my opinion. I saw this one. Arabic numerals, stunning.
ridiculous.
You saw it in the flesh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So 2438 is not a sub-reference, but like it's a 2497, which is the first central second automatic perpetual calendar by Patek Philippe they made.
That's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. Not automatic. The first central second perpetual calendar they made and serially produced.
Exactly.
But
this one is.
But this one is the kind of the same configuration, but it has a waterproof case.
That was it, exactly.
And the pink gold ones are exceedingly rare. I believe only 7 have been known before this one was uncovered in pink gold. And this one is sets it apart from the rest because it doesn't have baton markers like almost all 2438. This one has Arabic numerals applied to it, larger ones. And also interesting to note the different handset, the blued hands, to make the contrast higher. Like gold hands. But I think this is for legibility.
Yeah, true.
So it makes sense that the previous owner, a German gentleman, it also is engraved on the case back, and it comes with documents and service papers and everything, even a passport.
Crazy.
So I believe it's about legibility, and therefore he ordered it to have these numerals. So that makes it even more special. A very, very special watch for apparently a very special gentleman, because you couldn't just go to Patek Philippe and get these kind of watches.
I was about to say, that's not easy to do.
No, because also they're extremely valuable back in the days. If you
even then.
Yeah, it was a...
What would the list have been, like the list price back in the day?
Also, you should regard inflation and stuff. So even if I would say, let's say 80,000, back then 80,000 was...
Similar to 180 right now or something.
Well, perhaps even more.
Yeah, true.
I'm not sure on those numbers, but I would refrain from saying something stupid here.
No, that's
but what I can tell you is that the value was very, very high.
And we're talking about what time? 1950s?
1950s, 1955.
1955, crazy. And it's the last lot, I believe. And the estimate was
500 to a million.
500 to a million, which in my
opinion.
In my opinion, well, in my, I was about to say, I was going to look for a different. I say that a lot apparently, but it
next
looks
time
like
everybody has to take a shot every time.
Yeah,
you say
exactly.
It,
we'll have opinion. Like a big line here. But if we look at it, it's an estimate for such a unique reference and such a unique piece. I wouldn't say it's that high of an estimate.
We'll see. Well, that's the interesting part about these watches, because there are no second one knowns.
Exactly.
So you also don't have the history, like they sold for this amount and a similar one is on the market for this. This one can fetch whatever.
Yeah,
depending. This one can do 800,000, but it can do 2 million.
Yeah.
That's the
There's
thing.
No reference point.
No, that's the thing with these. Whilst, for example, the JPS was very special. You know, they've sold before and they will sell again, and you can compare them to the condition of the other ones. With this one, you don't have any reference material. It is, if you want this, if you need this, if you're a serious Patek collector, you have to put your pedal up and keep putting it up and see who has the biggest pockets to take it on. Yeah.
I'm very excited. We're going to see, there's a lot of cool pieces. We didn't cover them all. Make sure
there's 300 lots, so
the 300 lots. We didn't cover them all. We kept it short.
You're making it look like we covered 290 out of the 300.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to pick and choose between all these amazing lots.
I like the selection you made.
Yeah.
Also, cool Cartiers in there, right?
There's quite a few Cartiers featured in there. You see that Cartier is really being appreciated amongst collectors, and they found some rare pieces. The configurations of them are all amazing. Guys, we made a short little video about the lots. We're going to head to Monaco next week, Thursday. Make sure to follow our stories, and we'll make a nice video afterwards. Make a nice little story.
To talk about the results.
Exactly. Yeah, we can
Yeah,
reference
couple
to
of
that
them,
with the next watch talk.
Excellent.
Guys, absolutely. Guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, stay tuned, tell us what you think, place a comment, and we'll see you next week.
Don't forget to say hi to your mom.
Mom, love you. Thanks for always being the first comment.